So, Hare Krishna, Rama Kishor Prabhu from Minneapolis, the war zone. It's not really funny. It's actually a war zone now.
It is.
Yeah, and, it's very bad, and it's just getting worse. You know, they're trying to make it out to be something that it isn't. You know.
Absolutely, because I can tell you there before ICE came, there's no violence.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I wanted to share a little bit. You know, you ever heard of the Onion magazine?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
So they posted something today. You know, this all started. You know, this whole thing. They get really mad if you if you call them out on your lies, and even though everybody saw those videos of Renee Good, they still lie about it, and all of his sycophants and all of the cult members that follow him believe it. Like the majority of Republicans believe it, and so here's a little piece from the Onion magazine. This will lighten the mood a little bit. This is the headline. Conservatives say Renee Good was brainwashed by the Bible into loving thy neighbor.
Oh my gosh.
Washington, D.C., published today, February 15th, 2026. Calling her actions, quote, indefensible. Vice President J.D. Vance, it's got a picture of J.D. on it, you know. With his eyeliner and everything. I mean, he wears eyeliner. Nobody's going to vote for that dude. Renee Good was brainwashed by the Bible into loving thy neighbor. Quote, the fact of the matter is that Renee Good was radicalized by these deranged left-wing texts, end quote, said Vance, whose response to the death of the 37-year-old Minneapolis mother was reiterated across social media by MAGA voters and GOP lawmakers, who emphasized that the blame for her slaying lies squarely on the scriptures that had, quote, poisoned, end quote, her mind.
Oh my gosh.
Quote, she was obsessed. I don't know who Matthew and Mark are, if those are even their real names, but they should know that they will not escape accountability. Frankly, we should deport everybody who follows this insanity. There's no, quote, golden rule, end quote, for U.S. immigration code, end quote. At press time, Department of Justice reportedly launched an investigation after receiving a tip that there was a whole fringe network of these so-called, quote, followers of Christ. Gotta love the Onion.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play a song that kind of epitomizes the situation, and I just read a couple of pieces, you know, and I haven't posted them, but we can go. I don't know if you can read or anything, since we don't have anybody else on this broadcast here. It's very difficult to get people to get online, especially this time of day, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me just play this song. Now, every day, I was actually on the Tom Hartman program. I'm what they call a paid subscriber. I pay him every month, you know, $8 a month. It's pretty cheap. And it's worth it just to support independent journalism, you know.
Yep.
And so, you know, I asked him a question, you know, and it was kind of spontaneous, you know. As soon as I got on, as soon as the guy got to my name, I was out in front. I was like number 10 or 15 on the list. And so, you know, I didn't plan on saying this, but all of a sudden, when he called my name, I feel like I know this guy. You know, I know Tom Hartman because he writes every day, and he's one of the most hardworking activists I've ever seen in my life. And I lived through Vietnam. I was at candlelight vigils with my father during the Vietnam War as a young teenager. And he makes an article every day, and also his wife writes the daily song inspired by that article. It's just amazing. So this is the daily song by Louise, his good wife, and these two are like dynamic duos. They're like prophets, as you know, literally, because the guy is actually very spiritual. I mean, he met the Pope. He met, he met one of my spiritual master's friends who did the preface of his book, The Heart of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, a rhyming version.
Yeah.
And he wrote a preface to it. His name is Father Beta Griffiths. He was a Christian monk who was in India, and he went there to India. Or no, he went to India and he started putting on the dress of a sadhu, the dhoti and kurta.
Yeah.
And so my spiritual master saw that. He made friends with him, and he decided to do just the opposite. He put on monk's robes in the 90s when they had their interfaith conferences and stuff,
Yeah.
And that was like infamous, that everybody in the movement, was decrying, our deviation. Of course, we had already been thrown out of ISKCON, so.
Yeah.
But we didn't care at that point. But anyway, he was a pioneer in interfaith dialogue, and he is just a testimony to that because Father Beatty was friends with Tom Hartman, but let me play this. This is written by his wife. I don't know who produced it or sang it. It might be AI, but I don't know. But anyway, it's good. I'll let you hear it. Let me see if I can. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to actually share my sound here because you got to do that. If you ever are on a Zoom, you're doing a Zoom. You have to share the sound of the computer, otherwise it'll break up.
Yep.
Okay, let me share. Let me start this share here. Okay. Can you hear that?
I don't know. Oh, there.
They say it's paperwork and process.
There we go.
Names and files, just rules apply. But the engine's idle in the daylight and the faces hide behind what's implied. No warrant waved, no questions answered, just hands on guns and orders barked. If this is law, then why the silence? Why the masks? Why leave the dark? So tell me, what is ICE really doing? Who is this meant to scare tonight? If it's just a law, why all the fear? If it's just justice, why the sight of doors kicked in and voices shaking, of cities told to look away? What is ICE really doing, and who decides who's safe to stay? We've seen the laws in forts before now, with forms and courts and measured tone. No armies needed, no theater stage, no lessons taught with blood and bone. They point and say that's not for you, say you're fine, you're on the right side. But power never stops with one group, it just looks for the next place to hide. So tell me, what is ICE really doing? Is this about the border or control? When fear becomes the chosen language, what happens to the human soul? If force is all they need to govern, if masks replace the rule of law, what is ICE really doing, and who are they coming for? This isn't theory, this isn't later, this isn't someone else's fight. History doesn't knock politely, it shows up dressed as keeping order and asks who's willing to look straight at it. While there's still time to call it out.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, he does that. She does that every day. He makes a really, relevant article that's deep in meaning every single day. And I've made like over 200 illustrative slideshow videos based on those articles. I started doing it, a few months ago, but I've been trying to get something going, like to share it with people. I do share if nobody gets on the Zoom, then I just produce the video. But I want to share one other thing here. Let's see here. This, a man named Jim Wallace?
I don't. No.
Okay, he's my favorite. I think I sent you this article, but he wrote this article called "Morning in Minnesota." You know, morning, not like morning the break of day. You know, like morning. We're morning.
Yeah.
So let me just. Share this if I can. This is pretty good because this is you know, there. Have you ever seen like any other faith groups out there on the streets of Minnesota, Minneapolis?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, you know, of course, Christians and, you know, Catholics and, you know, however you define that, and then, you know, Ethiopian Orthodox.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says Jim Wallace. He teaches he's a Desmond Tutu chair of the Georgetown University in Washington D.C.
Cool.
I mean, he's been on MSNBC a lot of times, you know, and he's a theologian. He wrote a book called "The False White Gospel," claiming that, you know, this Christian nationalism is not. It's like an apasampradaya. You ever heard that term?
Yep.
Apasampradaya.
Yep.
So he says what we're seeing in Minnesota is secular and multi-faith organizations working shoulder to shoulder, forming a single movement committed to protecting human dignity for all. This is happening all across the country. Faith-based and other organizers are gathering at detention centers and deportation centers in cities like Chicago. Like there was that one guy in Chicago that was praying. He was a young man, pastor, with his, you know, collar and everything, standing with his arm raised, and they shot him in the head with a pepper ball. You see that?
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland, and throughout the Carolinas, Catholic bishops, Protestant pastors, rabbis, imams, and other faith leaders, everybody except the Hare Krishnas, are offering pastoral care to those being taken while also making public prophetic statements against the cruelty of mass deportation.
Yep.
You know, what was really tragic is, like, you know, it's these innocent people. There was one guy that was just crossing the street he was just trying to go home, I heard, in Minneapolis. And it was like an 18-month-old kid, and they were terrified because they're just trying to get home, but he was like running through a cloud of tear gas. Yeah. And one guy, they actually put a tear gas bomb in his car, and his 6-month-old kid was in the car and just stopped breathing. They had to call the paramedics.
Wow.
And you know, this is the thing. I mean, I can't imagine being a parent. You know, I guess that's one of the reasons I chose not to. You know, I was a brahmachari since the 70s. You know, and I always, whenever I'd see a householder arguing, I would think, okay, that's reason number 6,942 not to get married. You know, but then I just wanted to date in the early 2000s, and this woman reeled me in. You know, because she was a good cook, and of course I like to eat, as you can tell from my portly proportions, and so, you know, the thing is, I'm really glad that I got married like that, because it kind of reigned in my senses, you know, and so that's Krishna's blessing there, you know, because if I wouldn't have had Krishna consciousness, if I wouldn't have met the person that kind of kept me on a short leash, you know. I would be dead. I would be dead or in an insane asylum, I'm sure, you know. But anyway, let me share this other thing with you here. This is the actual Oops, no. Yeah, this is Daily Take. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, maybe we'll just, I'll just read it. I mean, you can't read and drive at the same time. Tell me if you get home. Where are you coming from? Are you working? Are you working today?
I was at work, so I'm just about home. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to read a little bit, and maybe when you get in, we can trade turns and share some realizations, and you can tell some war stories.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that. So, your mayor, your good mayor, he took down...
Mayor Frey, yeah.
Yeah, he took down a Fox, quote, news, end quote, host, pointing out that Trump's own federal prosecutors just quit their jobs rather than investigate and prosecute Renee Good's wife for domestic terrorism.
Yep.
It's like that's what's really beautiful about the Onion is because it always has a grain of truth in it. Yeah, she was just trying to drop after she dropped off her son, 6-year-old son, and then she got involved with this, and she actually, her car, she was just, driving away, and she wasn't driving into the officer. You could tell by the wheels, the forensic evidence. It shows that she was driving away, and he just got in front of her and shot her in the head 3 times.
Yep.
And everybody sees that and say, "Oh, well, she's a domestic terrorist." Please. But anyway, which raises the question. The Onion is saying, she was radicalized. She was just trying to take care of her neighbors. Try to look out for her neighbors, which is the only thing you can do in Minneapolis. Because who are you going to call? The cops? The cops don't even want to get involved with these ICE guys.
Yeah.
Because who knows what would happen then? I know they're coming to Pittsburgh sooner or later because it's the blue city.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time. But which raises the question: what is ICE really doing in Minneapolis? Well, over a decade ago, a very Anglo daughter of a friend of mine fell in love with a Hispanic fellow who owned a Mexican restaurant, and he started a little he'd started in a little northern Midwestern town. They got married, she got pregnant, and everyone in the family was delighted until the feds visited the restaurant and discovered her new husband wasn't a U.S. citizen, had no legal permission to be here in the country. See, they're raiding restaurants like that in Pittsburgh. They went into a restaurant in northern part of Pittsburgh near Moon, and you could see they trashed the place, and they actually stole a lot of the food and a lot of the equipment. They had a video of them taking it out at the back of the restaurant. So not only are they destroying these people's lives, they're also just thieves.
Yep.
So this was during the Obama administration. The feds were unfailingly polite. They told him that he had a certain amount of time to get his affairs in order, but within that period of time, he must leave the country, return to Mexico, apply for asylum or visa from there. Those were the rules. Nobody showed up to kick in the door of their home. Nobody from the government was wearing a mask. No swearing, no threats, no guns, no tear gas, no pepper spray, no hitting his car with theirs and beating either of them into the ground. They merely told him that he had to leave and serve him with appropriate paperwork, just like they do in most other democratic countries. Unfortunately, we don't live in a democratic country anymore. We live in an authoritarian police state.
Yep.
At that time, Senator Bernie Sanders... Feel the burn, by the way. He'd been a guest on my TV radio show every Friday for about a decade. He was on every Friday. Love Bernie Sanders. I mean, he was right about everything. I mean, I should make a hat. They have the Trump was right about everything. I should say Bernie was right about everything. I mean, he's always been talking. And I want to have, I'm old. I'm not quite as old as Bernie, but I want to invite him over here for soup,
Yeah.
And we can have a talk. But at that time, Bernie Sanders had been a guest on my TV radio show every Friday for about a decade, and we got his office involved trying to intervene in their case, but the feds were emphatic. He wasn't here legally, and so he had to leave. See, that's happening in New York City right now. See, My friend from New Vrindavan, he's been working there. He's actually an immigrant himself. He has a green card, but he can't find his green card. And he's afraid to go and get a replacement because he might be deported, even though he's a white guy. And so he's just kind of laying low. And we don't talk anymore. We used to talk on WhatsApp, because he's very politically savvy. He's he's one of the few devotees. I actually consider him my political mentor. I mean, he was a war photographer behind the scenes in the 90s, an undercover war photographer working for the New York Times. And he, on Instagram, his Instagram page, which he doesn't even share anymore because he's afraid of getting deported, had over 1 million followers. I mean, he's a famous journalist. And, he was working for the Times. He said if they found out he was working for the Times and wherever he was, Bosnia, Herzegovina, or whatever, they would have cut off his head,
Wow.
So, the guy is like really, really aware of what's going on in the world. And he's just lamenting the situation in America, especially in New Vrindavan, that people just don't really even... He said that unless something hits the devotees right in the face, it affects them personally, they're not going to really even care. They're just in their little devotee bubble, their little bhajan kutir, chanting Hare Krishna delightedly and taking shelter of the holy name. That's fine. But, when there's a situation where people are suffering, you should feel suffering. Otherwise, all of your tejas, your Brahminical qualities, leak out of your body like water from a cracked pot.
Yep.
That's the verse from the Bhagavatam. And so it actually, my friend Adi Purusha, you know him from New York, from the Bhakti Center?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been managing. I mean, he's an old Brijvasi. He's the first person I ever did service on the farm. And, he's a great devotee. He's like a saint. He's like almost 80 years old. He's 78 years old, but he's still going strong in New York City, doing this bed and breakfast program and trying to accommodate people from all over the world. They got a pretty good thing going on there, because New York is like the center of the universe still. But and so they have hundreds of rooms. They rent these buildings, entire buildings full of apartments or rooms. They renovate, and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they built this yoga center on the 10th floor of this building in Manhattan on 30th Street. And the girl that was working there was Chinese immigrant. And so she had to go get her visa too, just like this gentleman that Hartman's talking about here. And they won't let her back in the country. And so now that whole yoga center they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars renovating is closed. But Adi's, it's like, even though it's affecting them, he just doesn't even want to talk about it. It's something you don't talk about. It's like you can't get involved with politics. That's all mundane. Or Krishna's in charge. He'll take care of everything. No. We got to fight. We have to fight. It's our duty. Our Krishna, Prabhupada said to Arjuna, or said that our Krishna didn't say to Arjuna, you just stay here in the battle field. I'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it. You don't have to fight. I'll just win the war for you. You can sit here. And no, he didn't say that. He said you should fight because he wants to actually give the credit to his devotees. If devotees do something on the Krishna's behalf, like, for example, converting a dacoit like Majagai and Madhai. The reason Nityananda was so fired up to convert them, he says, if we can convert these two guys, then Lord Chaitanya's name will be even more glorified. He was thinking just only of Lord Chaitanya's glory in trying to deliver these two drunkard woman hunted, just like, Epstein and Trump, They're, of course, like everybody in this age is like a Jagai Mada and worse. But, that's why he did it. He was only thinking about, he wasn't thinking I'm such a great preacher or whatever. There you are. Haribo.
Haribo.
Nice to see your smiling face.
Nice to
see you. I can't believe what's going on in your city right now. It just breaks my heart.
It's insane. And, I have so many stories from neighbors. If you want to hear one right now, I can share one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, a neighbor.
Let me just stop and share so I can see your face.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I mean, a neighbor, a friend of my wife's, and I know him peripherally, but he's a neighbor, and he's a white guy. He's got a family, but his neighbor is a black man, and he was unloading his groceries from his car, right, in his driveway, and all of a sudden, just an ICE vehicle pulls up, and they jump out and they chase him, and he gets into his house, luckily, and then they hung out for about 20 minutes, and then they left, and then he came out and got the rest of his groceries. But this is an example. They're hunters. This is what's going on. It has nothing to do with, it's tier profiling. Any person of color is a target.
Yeah, you know whose fault that is? Brett Kavanaugh.
Yep,
the drunk who likes beer.
Yeah.
He was in his testimony for, in front of the Judiciary Committee, is trying to get the Supreme Court seat, and what's his name? Matt Damon. You know him, the movie star?
Yep.
He did a really, really funny impression of him. Yeah, I like beer. Yeah, I drink beer, Do you drink beer? He was like really pissed, that they're even daring to question his veracity, So,
yep.
But anyway, he's the one that did that racial profiling ruling. If it wasn't for him, that wouldn't be it. And now it's not even a matter of immigration anymore. It's simply racial profiling.
Totally.
Who can stay here and who can't? Because they can stop and frisk and do anything they want. And even, Joe Rogan?
Yep.
Joe Rogan, he has millions of followers. And here's like a good sign, because he was on the other day. I mean, even I think he supported Trump.
Yep.
And, but even he says it's not a good look when you start shooting people in the face. He said, what are we going to do? Is this like the Gestapo tactics? He actually referenced the Nazi, SS tactics, and, what's his name? The guy that looks like Voldemort, Stephen Miller.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
he's the Eichmann.
Totally.
Totally the Eichmann of the current 21st century SS, which is the ICE.
Yep.
ICE.
He's actually the guy who's the puppeteer, because and Trump's the puppet. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, because Trump, he's pretty stupid. He doesn't really know. He doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't have any folly. Even the whole Republican Party, they don't have a platform. Even when Trump was elected in 2020, Biden was elected. In 2020, they didn't have a Republican platform because they don't really care about that policy, that stuff too much anymore.
No.
They don't really care. They just wanted Trump. They wanted a dear leader, so they wouldn't have to worry about it. He'll take care of everything. It's kind of like the devotees thinking, oh yeah, Krishna will take care of it. I don't have to worry. I can just sit here on my ass and chant Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada was totally against that. He said, no, you have to fight. And so, I mean, we have to follow our spiritual master, and, like if we don't, it's a dereliction of duty, in my humble opinion.
Totally.
The thing is, so that's one indication. Kids are not even afraid to go to school.
Yep.
I mean, you have like mass people that are trying to protect the kids. They can't even go out and get groceries.
Yep. They closed the schools in Minneapolis for a while.
Oh God!
And they had
was that right after Renee's death?
Yep. And they're talking about doing it through the 21st. I think. I think they've changed that, but here's the deal. So every morning, 3 days a week, I drive to work. It's about a 30-minute drive, but I drive down 35th, which is going towards the freeway from my house. And I pass by a school, Minneapolis public school.
Right. And
now, guess what? There's people who are spotters.
Yeah. They're with whistles, right?
Yep.
They all got whistles.
Radios now. They have radios, and they're volunteers. They're not public employees. They're not school employees. They're parents.
I bet you they were indoctrinated by that leftist scripture called the Bible.
Exactly. So I wanted to share something. We were talking about Srila Prabhupada, right?
Yeah.
And here's some things that I've seen shared and I've read about Prabhupada talking about politics, right? And here's one quote. This is a letter from March 4th, 1972. So I am very much serious that you all boys and girls should expose these Nixons and remove them. There is ample scope for protest in this Sankirtan movement, and you yourselves be president. That is my hope for saving the misled mankind from total chaos.
Exactly, and that's what's happening in Minneapolis right now. It's total chaos. Before it was fine, but then ICE came in, and see, Fry is how do you pronounce his name, Fry or Fry?
Fry.
Fry. I mean, he's trying to calm everybody down because you can't let them play into this. You can't instigate. He tastes the Insurrection Act. He wants that so bad, and he's just looking for an excuse. And so if he can like agitate to the point, I mean, this other guy was killed, like the Venezuelan dude.
Yep.
They shot into his house and then they killed him. Another victim of these. They're not trained. All these guys,
No,
they
not.
give them $50,000 signing bonus. This is our taxpayer money. And Alexander Ocasio-Cortez said, I just want you to know this: your healthcare premiums, the people that will be paying, and all of your grandma and grandpa who's going to be thrown out of their nursing home, they're the ones that are paying for these ICE goons.
Yep. When George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah, that was in the same neighborhood. Is it 5 blocks away, right?
Well, from my house is about 4.
Wow.
But literally, the people the instigators who came and actually started the fires and broke windows were the Bugaboo Boys. And guess what? They're not here right now because they're here as ICE.
Oh yeah.
They're actually the ICE officers. They're not even actually law enforcement. So
no, they're actually, you know what they are? They're like the KKK of the 1920s. They wear masks because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to be identified. Yep. And thank God, my friend, my lawyer devotee libtard friend, I call them libtards, because I wear that mantle totally. As far as I've got a hat that says libtard on it.
Yep. I love that. Own it.
Yeah, I'm going to own it,
Yep. And here's another quote from Prabhupada, just for our,
That was Amarendra. That was a letter to Amarendra, that last one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't have who it was to, so that's not on here. I didn't have that. I missed that. But here's another one, and I don't know, maybe you shared it, but I've been collecting these. But Prabhupada, well, generally we are not interested in politics, but if need be, we can take politics also, because Krishna consciousness is all pervading. It includes religion, philosophy, politics, sociology, science, everything. It's all pervading. God is everywhere. It is not that God is only in the church or in the temple. God is everywhere. So the guest says, what do you mean need be? And then it says, what do you mean if need be? Need be, when we see that the politicians are simply making embezzlement, we may take part in politics. Also, and that's London, 1973. Do you know who he wrote that to? It's a conversation, actually.
A room conversation?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one, but that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, this is why. So I'm gonna please to all devotees of Krishna consciousness and ISKCON or people of God. Prabhupada's very clear here. So don't sit in your house. You got to get out, because, and this is the other thing is, we're our movement, because you were there, but it exploded because we went out and hit the streets and we shared the holy name with everyone.
Yeah, we have to have that sense of community.
Yep.
Otherwise,
we don't do that anymore.
No, everybody thinks that we're just like in our own little bubble, which is true. Yep. Because we don't interact. I mean, people are afraid right now.
Yep.
Especially in your city, and they want a solution. We have the solution, but we're so freaking lazy that we don't try to. Well, I mean, we're trying to share but why not relate to them? And they used to have. I get the Back to God magazine. Remember, they put out a call to actually keep that alive because all the print magazines are going out of business, and so the ISKCON BTG was starting to go out of business too. And I subscribed to it before the election last year. I think in October or something, and every single freaking issue. There's not one word about what's going on in the world.
Nope.
They used to have this podcast is called the Vedic Observer or Śāstra-cakṣusā, seeing the world through the eyes of Scripture. See, that's what we have to have is that Krishna is there. Emerson, my favorite author when I was a teenager was Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, God comes to us without a bell. You don't have to ring a bell. He's there in our hearts. If we just realize it. And understand that he's trying to talk to us, but we're just busy doing other things and trying to, satisfy our senses. So we don't have to really do all that much because God is already in our hearts. And if we see God in everyone else's heart, this is one thing that my evangelical friend from Georgetown, he wrote in a chapter called Imago Dei. You know that Latin phrase, Imago Dei? Prabhupada said the same thing. Krishna has two hands. So we are created in God's image. Krishna has two hands. We have two hands.
Yep.
So Prabhupada said that. So now if you discriminate against God's children just on the basis of skin color or caste or creed or political affinity, that is an offense against God. It has nothing to do with politics. That is a spiritual offense, and it transcends all kinds of, because God loves his children. And he wants to protect us. And I pray to God in the Shringadev. You said we have to get some. People are going to rise up if he does the Insurrection Act. Good luck with that. But the only real protection is Lord Nrsingadev. I have him. I drive for Uber, and I have a picture of, or I have a little murti of Nrsingadev with Prahlad on his lap. Nice. And he's protecting the car, he's protecting me, he's protecting the riders, and everybody asks him who he is, and sometimes I tell him the whole story, Did you see that movie, the Mahatma? Yes. That was a good one. I really liked the character Prahlad, I got my deity of Nrsingadev. Have you ever seen my deity of Nrsingadev?
Yeah, no, you showed me a picture.
Yeah, he was so fierce that I couldn't even look at him. He was in my spiritual master's temple room, and it was facing east. The greenhouse was on the eastern side and when the sun came up on the ridge there in the morning, it would hit the deities' faces.
Oh, wow.
And I took some really beautiful shots on what they call film. Yeah. You ever heard of that?
Yes, I remember that.
A SLR camera. And so I took some, and that deity was so scary, I could hardly even look at it. That was right after he got hit in the head with a lead pipe, Some crazy devotee hit him on the head in 1985. And so it was like, I wanted that deity. I was asking around. I knew he must have been somewhere, And so I said, I asked on Facebook, I said, do everybody know where this Murti is, I knew he had to be somewhere. And all of a sudden this guy says, actually, I have him. He's been sleeping in a box for about 10 years. And so you know who that was? That was Dharmatma's son, Dhruva.
Oh.
He's like a Nrsingadev aficionado.
Oh, yeah.
He actually, so I said, well, I'll give you $250 for him. I want that deity because Prahlad Maharaj is my favorite devotee, he's so compassionate, he just wants to save all the poor fools and rascals because, they're wasting their time with their material pursuits and maintaining their families and societies and creating what he calls Maya Sukhaya, these huge economic development to make you happy, which will never be happy. He said, if you want to be happy, just stop trying to be happy. He was pretty smart for a 5-year-old.
Yep.
He's smarter than 99.9% of all of our politicians combined, no matter what party. He couldn't relate to the Sanda and Amarka, those two demons.
Yeah.
You know, he said, you know, these are your friends and these are your enemies. You know,
Yep.
and I was actually a bona fide libtard in the early 2000s. You know, I was coordinator of MoveOn.org of Greater Pittsburgh Council.
Oh, cool. Very
And
cool.
yeah, I'm kind of, but you know, this one woman kind of emasculated me. You know, she was like, really. I mean, I found out that liberals can be assholes too. You know,
Yep.
and it doesn't matter political, you know, affinity. And so, you know, I became an inactivist. An inactivist. My I got a bullhorn. I used to do like in Shenley Park and Pitt campus. We used to do meetings on top of Shenley Park, you know, for the public option, you know, for healthcare, Obamacare, and that didn't work, and so they did Obamacare, and that was like another commercialized version.
Yep.
But usually there's a lot of single payer people up there. But I was like a bona fide. And then I became an inactivist. I was a proud inactivist. You know, I said, I don't want anything to do with this, you know, because I was just like, you know, but then Trump was like elected again. And I thought he would never be elected again.
Yep.
After he trashed the Capitol, I thought, oh my God, this guy is
Yep.
so far away from. And what do? They elect him again. And not only
Yep.
that, I thought all the people that shit in the hallways and everything and killed 5 cops and injured, gouged their eyes out and broke their bones and hit them with flagpoles.
Yep.
I thought they'd be arrested and prosecuted. He pardoned them all.
Yep.
And now he's getting like all these right-wing goons
Yep.
strapping them up with guns, putting a mask on them, just like
Yep.
in the 20s in, you know, Ku Klux Klan. And they're just going and raising hell in your
Yep.
own city.
Yep. You're right here.
And so I never thought that would happen. I refused to believe it. I like when right after, you know, what's his name, right after the Supreme Court declared the Trump immune from all
Yeah.
things in July 1st. I remember the date because I was so depressed.
Yep.
I thought this is like, and you know, Mark Ruffalo, he played Mark Ruffalo. He was in a made-for-TV series on, I think it was HBO or Amazon. It was called Task. He's a really good actor. He played the Hulk in the Avengers movie.
Oh yeah. I know who that
Hulk
is.
smash. That's what we need right now in Minneapolis,
Yep.
to smash all these
Yep.
ICE agents, you know.
Yep. Totally.
But he said this has been happening before. You know, in 1933 they passed the Enabling Act, and 6 months later Germany became a one-party state.
Yep.
And that is the one of the warnings in On Tyranny that Timothy Snyder talks about.
Yep.
Beware of the one-party state, and
Yep.
beware of the paramilitary.
Yep. And
I
we
mean,
have both.
Now we have both, and we have everything's on steroid, and it's happening so fast that people don't even can't keep up with it, and they just like. Everybody's like, even the devotees are like, I can't talk about that's mundane, that's political, we can't take sides, and then they laugh at anybody who thinks that I'm nonpartisan. You know, there's partisan opinions are anybody, you know, like algorithms. They blame the algorithms, or you know, they're making devotees into this side or that side. But you know, those are opinions, and opinions are like a-holes. Everybody has one.
Yep.
So why should you trust anybody's opinion? There's only one opinion that matters, and that's Krishna's.
Yep.
And the disciplic succession and all of the Vedas and all of our disciplic succession, they have weight.
Yep.
And if we don't use that, then we're actually betraying our spiritual master's mission, and it's going to fold.
Yep.
You know, Prabhupada warned about that. He said, you know, if we don't preach, you know, I put a little video like of Prabhupada speaking, and I said, you know, all these temples, like the synagogues and churches are closing all over the United States, and they're,
Yep.
you know, because they only have like a few old ladies in them anyway, you know,
Yep.
and they're turning into like the one down in Carnegie where I used to live is a banquet hall, you know, for receptions and stuff like that. And because they're closing, and then I put a picture of the Prabhupada's palace that said closed right in front of it, you know. And so don't think this is going to happen to us if we don't
Yep.
preach.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time. I mean, this is the way the discipular succession erodes, and Krishna had to come and speak it again to Arjuna because it disappears from society. That's the way it disappears,
Yep.
because it's not being circulated amongst the population, and it's not being told and retold. It's just like dust in the wind, like that
Yep.
what's Kansas song,
Yep.
The disciplic succession, the message of Krishna just disappears because there's nobody to carry it on. And if there is not even one pure devotee on the world, then all the devotees get really upset and they start thinking, like Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, he says, you're the only person that can take care of this, So
Yep.
he sat on the banks of the Ganges and offered some Ganges water, It's like, when your father wants a birthday present, you get some money from him, so buy a pack of cigarettes for your father,
Yeah.
You just give it back to him, That's kind of like what it is, offering Ganges water and chanting Hare Krishna very loudly. And Haridas Thakur was doing the same thing. And Lord Chaitanya appeared because of the cries of those two individuals.
Yep.
And so who's going to help now? Who's going to help if the devotees don't do it? See that.
Right.
When the government itself becomes the criminal,
Yep.
who is the police? Who's the police? Everybody's thinking, oh, yeah, well, the government will take care of it, the midterms. There might even be midterms,
Yep.
And Trump's talking about that now. He said,
Yeah.
what's the use of these midterms anyway? He's just setting it up so he can knock it down. But when the government becomes the criminals, the only people that can solve it, you have to act as if it's up to you and to know that it comes to Krishna,
Yep.
So the people are the police.
Yep.
And I think Prabhupada would agree with that, because if it wasn't for Lord Chaitanya and his civil disobedience movement, there wouldn't be a Hare Krishna movement.
No, there wouldn't be.
Because
That was
the
his whole
Kazi would have cracked down. He had his own ICE agents,
Yep.
breaking mridangas and breaking, telling people not to chant. And
Yep.
and Lord Chaitanya, he didn't tolerate that. He gathered like hundreds of thousands of devotees
Yep.
with torches, and they went to the Ghazi's house, and they weren't
Yeah.
like peaceful. They were pissed. And they destroyed his gardens all around the palace, and he was hiding under the bed or something,
Yep.
And Prabhupada said he was afraid, as you should be.
Yeah.
It's appropriate to be afraid when that kind of force comes out.
Yep.
So, it's like that Jim Morrison song that By the Doors, 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah.
That it goes, there's one line that says, they have the guns, but we have the numbers.
Yep.
We're gonna win. We're taking over. And then
Yep.
he goes, "Come on!"
I mean, even if they sent all 80,000 ICE agents to Minneapolis, we have 380,000 people who live in Minneapolis. We have 3.9 million people who live within the Twin Cities area. So they only have so many bullets. They can only take so many people, and until eventually they're just going to be overrun.
Yeah, they're so unpopular right now. Could you believe that press conference that woman that has the cross around her neck all the time?
I know.
It's like Jon Stewart Jon Stewart said that he did a bit. He says, I don't even blame her for lying because that's her job.
Yeah.
It's to lie. He says maybe it's like. She has a big cross around her neck. I saw a meme that's had 3 people on it. Pam Bondi, they all had Christian crosses around their neck. And he said, if you see 3 women, blondes, with crosses around it, you're about to hear some of the most anti-Christian shit you've ever heard in your life.
Yep.
And Stewart said that maybe when she lies, her cross gets bigger, and they put the cross
Like
started getting
Pinocchio's
bigger. Pinocchio cross. It was really funny. But, that's the kind of thing that Trump doesn't like. He doesn't like humor, and that's why he tried to get rid of Kimmel.
Yep.
But, he couldn't. They brought him back because Disney was losing their sponsorship,
Everybody was... Well, yeah, everybody was canceling their Disney program.
Yeah. My wife didn't because she's a big Swiftie. She's a 57-year-old Swiftie. So she had to watch that concert. She made me watch it. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's an amazing. She's a pretty far out liberal, herself.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's why Trump hates her. I hate Taylor Swift. She tweeted out on this Nazi-infested social media site, Yep. But the thing is, it really, everybody thinks it's like bad that these celebrities are saying anything at all. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, the aforementioned Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk guy,
Yeah.
who warned about the SCOTUS Act about pardoning all of Trump's whatever he did is okay with him. He also wore at the Golden Globes the other night. It was like 2 or 3 nights ago. He wore a good pin.
Yeah.
Good. And and there were spontaneous protests all over the country for Renee Good, or Ice Out for Good. That was what it was called. I don't know when the next May Day festival or the next King's Day festival. But I mean, you have to do the work too, and you have to talk to people, and that's what we're not doing.
Yep.
We don't want to talk about it, and I far and few between. I try to talk to as many people as I can. I drive for Uber, and I actually show videos of because when you're in an Uber, you're like a sitting duck.
Yep.
And I have this video machine. It's locked into the sound system. It's a 4K screen, and I make illustrative slideshow videos. You've probably seen them. And if there's some current event like that going on, people can relate to it because it's happening.
Yep.
I produce it every day, and if there's a good one, then I'll show it to somebody. If they I mean, you can't like proselytize, too much.
No.
I get complaints from my Uber riders, about how I talk too much. But at least I'm trying to talk about something that's meaningful, or relevant, or will affect people's lives. And I really think that devotees really have to. My friend Adi Purusha, he's from Ukraine.
Yeah.
He's like my audiobook mentor. As you know, I read audiobooks.
Yeah.
And he said this is what's lacking in ISKCON. He said, what we are sorely missing in ISKCON is some senior people expressing a moral and honest stance. Nothing is more toxic than religionists and spiritualists exhibiting just silence or even support for an obvious and dangerous immorality and lie.
I was just having this conversation because on that right now I'm representing just myself, but I also serve on our temple board.
Oh, yeah. Really?
And so we are crafting a message condemning the violence against people of color in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities.
Right.
And we'll be posting that publicly because as a nonprofit we can't speak about politics, but we can condemn violence and these other things.
Are you 501c3?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I registered a Coexist Kirtan Center, that's my house, as a church. And you don't really have to have 501c3 status. But, they had ice, during Christmas. There was one church it was up in New England somewhere. They had the manger scene and nativity scene.
Yeah.
But Jesus wasn't there. And Mary and Joseph, they had been detained.
Yeah, I saw
by
that.
ICE. I mean, that's a good message, and they were condemned by that. Don't mix politics with religion, my wife has always been kind of like that, and her favorite band back when I met her was the Dixie Chicks. They're called the Chicks now, and they went. Toby Keith had made some comment about the war in Iraq, and condemned Natalie Maines for saying in London, she made a statement, I'm ashamed. This is how innocuous it was back then. I'm ashamed that we're from the same state as George W. Bush, Texas.
Yep.
And they completely banned all of their records from the radio stations. They had big monster trucks rolling over their CDs. They were probably prevented from having a #1 Grammy hit, Traveling Soldier.
Yep.
And what they went through is just amazing. But now they were actually kind of like reconciled with their, what was the name for that? You know
They
what
were
I mean?
Forgiven, I guess, or whatever.
Well, forgiven or proved to be right. They
Yeah.
eventually won 6 Grammys for but they had everybody wants people to just like shut up and just talk about, stuff that they can enjoy, Shut up and sing or shut up and play football or whatever. Just give me some sense gratification. Don't talk about politics or don't talk about anything that matters, But they put out that movie, Shut Up and Sing.
Yep. I mean, hey, we're from a privileged class. We're white.
Yeah, we're white guys. Yeah,
We're white guys,
and we have all kinds of white people problems. Like oh my God, my car won't start today. Like
it
was cold.
out,
It was cold. Yeah.
But I think about my neighbors and my friends who are people of color, and I think about my coworkers, and 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 they're terrified, and I'm like, this is
Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's called the golden rule.
Well,
the golden rule is feel some sympathy for your brothers and sisters that are suffering. If you don't do that, then you have no right to go back to Godhead, because all of your spiritual power will leak out of your body. Just like a cracked pot. That's what it says.
It's like my spiritual teacher. He quotes Paraduka Duki.
Oh yeah,
time, right?
Yeah, that's Radha Swami, right?
Huh? Yes.
Radha.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's also one at Parasuki Duki, which is the worst kind of thing, where you feel happiness for other people's suffering.
Yep.
See, that's the whole. That is what the half of the country is motivating them. They get together and they talk about how they can be cruel. And make other people suffer because it gives them enjoyment to own the libs. And own the people that they love to hate. Hate is very powerful. That's why even Narada Muni was kind of jealous of the demons, because they have such a strong emotion that it's even more powerful than love sometimes.
Yep. And our purpose is to, like, when people are in distress and unhappy, we are unhappy, and we want to do things that change them.
Exactly.
And when people are happy, then we are happy. This is what devotees are supposed to be doing. And
this is Lord Chaitanya's message. His movement was based on the fact he just wants to make people happy.
Yep.
That's it. Period. About end of sentence.
Yep. Exactly.
But I really appreciate your coming on. It's a rare occurrence. I think I have one of these maybe every other week. But anytime if you want to, if there's any other further happenings, just give me a buzz and
I will.
We'll put you on, because I have these like every, like it was supposed to be at 6 o'clock, but I know you're probably doing other things at 7 o'clock Central. Yeah. So I can adjust the time, because nobody else is really.
Yeah.
Well, I have it early on Thursday nights, because we have our kirtan at our center here in Pittsburgh every Thursday. But today was like a special day. I think I was thinking that he was going to get on there and declare the Insurrection Act, but that's
what I was worried about.
Yeah. Instead, you had that blonde bimbo out there, lying.
Yep. Well, so I just want to say one more thing. I think I kind of said it before, but devotees, get off your butt, go out on Harinam, start preaching and doing book distribution, and when there's demonstrations, you go do Harinam right in the middle of the demonstrations. That is condemning and demonstrating against this violence against people of color, and we love every living entity. So now live up to that. I'm
going to send you my audiobook narration of Imago Dei. I mean, that is a really powerful biblical thing. It's in the first chapter of Genesis. Imago Dei, that Latin term, and and Prabhupada said the same thing. So, based on that concept, I mean, even our founding fathers, all men are created equal. I mean, it's kind of a divine document when you come to think of it.
It is.
And these people that are taking over, they're just wiping their butt with that piece of paper.
Yep, they don't care.
They do not care, because they want to be in power. And, what's amazing is I read this other article, about Greenland. He wants to take over Greenland.
Yeah.
I mean, Timothy Snyder, one of my other political heroes, he actually, move to Canada because his wife made him,
Yeah.
because he has kids. I don't judge anybody for moving out of this country.
Yeah.
If you have the means and the capability, go ahead, do it if you have a reason. But he's not a coward. But he's teaching up in Toronto now. But he was saying, he was comparing this acquisition of Greenland and Denmark and whatever to a mad stamp collector. He called it a fable. There was a boy who borrowed somebody's, he was interested in the stamps when he was a kid. And this friend of his, a neighbor, it was a really good neighborhood, and they would share things, and if he needed a tool or something, they'd share it, and he grew up that way. But then this neighbor had a stamp book, and he said, you can keep this as long as you had, and he let him have it, right? And so then he got kind of attached. He said, I want this, And so he went into his friend's house. This is called the Mad Stamp Collector fable. he went into his house at night, and he brought a gun, and he said, listen, he's had his stamp book for like years, even decades, and he was all grown up now. But he said, I want this book for myself. And I just broke into your house, and I could have stolen this, but now I want it, and so you have to tell me that it's mine. even though he already has it. And so Timothy Snyder said that it doesn't matter. He has that base up there in Greenland. We've had that for 75 freaking years.
Yep, I know.
And it was started in 1951 due to the Russians. And now they're saying all of a sudden we have to be afraid of the Russians and the Chinese as security. We have all the security we need.
Yep.
And all it's going to do is destroy all of our neighborhood.
Yep.
And he gets nothing for it. Nothing. Nope. Absolutely nothing. All he does is, put his name on it. He wants to just plant a flag in the snow of Greenland. Yep. It's just insane.
Yeah, totally.
We have a madman in charge of our government right now.
And we have a bunch of Republicans who are in charge,
and billionaires
who are not willing to stop it. Right?
Yeah, they're all afraid. The only people like Tom Tillis, he's retiring, so the only time they speak out is when they're leaving. Yep. Otherwise, it seems like somebody should have a little bit of courage to actually put their job on the line and say something, because everybody's afraid of being primaried. There'll probably be a lot, as soon as the primaries are over this year, there'll be a lot of defections because they know they'll have a safe primary seat. Yep. But if they're in a red district, otherwise they're complete cowards, and they don't. Totally. They care more about their jobs than they do about America and the citizens, and it's just a shame. Yep, it is. Just like Arlen Specter, I think he was a senator from Pennsylvania back in the day, but he I can remember him saying they're trying to get reelected.
Yep, that's all they care about.
Yeah, that's all they care about is being in power.
Their job is to serve the public.
Yeah, I mean, like you're supposed to serve, just like the kings in the olden days in Vedic times. Yep. They looked at their citizens as children. Yep. And unless you can deliver your dependents from birth, death, old age, and disease, you shouldn't even be a king. Yep. Or a parent, or a demigod, or whatever, a guru, whatever. So, anyway, that's what we have to try to become an example for, so that we can, represent Prabhupada. Because if Prabhupada is pleased with us, it doesn't matter if the whole world does. That at least Krishna and you're good to go if Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, especially if Prabhupada is pleased with us. If your spiritual master Radhanath Swami is pleased with you, then Prabhupada will be pleased, and that's all you have to worry about. But we have to do things. And, if you praise your spiritual master, Prabhupada was saying in that one, we must fight video, he said, you can praise your spiritual master, like, oh, Prabhupada, by your grace, we'll conquer over all these bad things that are happening in the name of nationalism and scientific advancement. By your grace. He said, no, you have to fight. Yep. It's very good. It's very good to praise your spiritual master, but the spiritual master is more pleased when you actually try to represent him and do what he wants, and execute his mission, and try to please him in that way. Yep. So I think that's a good place to end our conversation. Excellent. And thank you very much for joining. Thank you. And always you are a member of our Coexist Kirtan Center, so if you see a topic that you want to join in on. Feel free to RSVP in the Facebook events page,
I will.
and we'll see you in future. How is your temple doing?
Great.
Really? Yeah.
Except after they murdered Renee Good, we had a bit of a drop in attendance on Sunday. So because people are scared. So
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go after everybody.
Yep.
Not just, like somebody said, one of my Facebook friends said, they're going after Somalis now,
Yep.
but they're running out of people. And I said, no, there's a lot of people here that are not white, because they only want white Christian males in this country. Everybody else is like second-class citizen.
Yep.
And if you're from some offshoot of some Hindu cult and you have brown skin, you're going to maybe end up in some hellhole in Uganda or something.
Yep.
So don't be surprised.
Yeah.
Anyway, Prabhu, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, and
Haribo.
all glories to your service. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Glories to Prabhupada and Radhanath Swami.
Yes, Haribo.